Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into an ancient defense strategy for a very modern problem, folly.
Mm-hmm.
We often assume folly means, a lack of intelligence, but if we look closely at our sources, well, that's not really it at all.
No, it's not about being stupid. It's about making choices without thinking.
Yeah,
It's passive.
passive, okay.
Yeah, it's the absence of, calculation.
Yeah.
And it often comes disguised, doesn't it? As friendship, maybe a simple opportunity, even just common courtesy.
Right, which is why it can catch even really bright people off guard.
Exactly. Folly doesn't, announce itself like some big disaster. It kind of sneaks in as a harmless favor.
We saw that devastating pattern in the story of Jake. He was 19, intelligent.
Yep.
A friend asks him to co-sign a car loan, says, oh, it's just a formality. Jake, wanting to help, he signed.
And then what happens?
Yeah.
6 months later, the friend just vanished.
Gone, leaving Jake holding, what was it, $25,000 in debt?
$25,000. His credit was obliterated. His education plans completely derailed. It took him 7 years. 7 years of really crushing effort to dig himself out.
Okay, but wait. The Jake story. I mean, most of us know or think we know you shouldn't co-sign huge loans like that. What's the real insight here? Is it just that we ignore obvious risks?
Well, see, that's the crucial part. It's not just ignoring the risk. He never actually calculated the risk. He admitted later, I never even thought to ask what would happen if something went wrong.
Oh, okay. So the folly isn't ignoring the danger, it's failing to even consider it.
Precisely. Failing to calculate it at all. That failure to pause, to question, that is the essence of modern vulnerability, especially today.
That's really the mission for this deep dive, then, in a culture that's practically designed to make us, click without reading, sign without understanding.
Yeah.
The ability to pause and question isn't just some abstract wisdom, it's like survival.
It is survival, and we're using the Socratic method, that practice of asking thoughtful questions before acting as the active defense.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start where I think most people get tripped up, when our words become chains.
Exactly. And, we live in a culture that, it treats words pretty cheaply, doesn't it?
Yeah, like promises don't mean much sometimes.
Right. We make these promises, give these sort of informal assurances, but the enduring principles we're looking at, they remind us that careless commitments, they do bind our future.
Legally, financially.
Reputationally, too. They become chains, sometimes invisible ones at first.
Let's think about Sarah. She was just trying to be helpful, right? Promised a coworker she'd be a reference for a business loan.
Yeah. Barely knew the guy, but thought, what's the harm? It's just a reference.
But that casual word, that yes.
It became a chain. When the business inevitably failed, and worse, fraud was uncovered, Sarah got subpoenaed.
Wow, just for being a reference.
Just for being a reference.
Yeah.
Her integrity was suddenly questioned, her professional reputation dragged right into court proceedings. She learned the really hard way that vouching for someone means you're basically lending them your reputation.
And she gave that asset away without really stopping to question the cost.
Without a second thought.
Okay, that sounds great in theory, but let's be real. You're, say, 22. Your friend is standing right there looking you in the eye, asking, come on, don't you trust me?
How do you actually pull off that Socratic pause then? It's awkward.
It is awkward. That's the friction, isn't it? Wisdom is often socially uncomfortable. The Socratic method forces us to kind of transform that discomfort into necessary clarity. The moment you feel that pressure,
That's the signal.
that's the signal to ask. First, okay, wait, what am I really promising here? You have to look beyond the surface label.
So not just helping, but
Right. If you co-sign, you're not just helping out. You are accepting full financial responsibility. Full stop. If you vouch for someone, you're lending your actual character, your good name.
okay, first question, what else?
Then you got to ask, can I actually deliver this? And be honest. Hope is not a strategy here.
Right. If the commitment needs resources you don't truly possess, time, money, maybe specific skills, you're basically just setting yourself up for failure and maybe taking someone else down with you.
And crucially, I imagine, what happens if circumstances change?
Oh, absolutely crucial. Can this promise you're making survive a job loss, a relationship breakdown, a health crisis, yours or theirs?
Because life happens.
Life happens. If the promise only works if everything stays absolutely perfect, well, that's a really weak foundation, isn't it?
It's terrifying how easily this happens.
It is. And look, the statistics we found in our sources, they're kind of a horror show, actually. The #1 reason for financial derailment among young adults. It often isn't student debt or credit cards, surprisingly.
No, what is it then?
It's obligations they took on for other people.
They co-signing.
Co-signing, informal business partnerships, lending money they couldn't afford to lose. They were literally ruined by trying to be nice because they failed to question the commitment deeply enough.
Okay, so the practical takeaway here is recognize the pressure points.
Yes. Legitimate requests can usually withstand scrutiny. Manipulation often can't. So when someone hits you with, "I need an answer right now," that urgency itself is a red flag.
And you flip it.
You flip it. You shift that urgency back onto them and question it. Okay, I understand it's urgent for you, but why can't this wait for proper consideration on my end? Just asking that simple question gives you back control.
That pause.
That pause is everything.
Okay, so if carelessness with our words, our money, our commitments chains us, we also have to talk about carelessness with our time.
Ah, yes. The folly of laziness.
Which is maybe even more insidious.
It's certainly seductive, isn't it? Because laziness promises comfort now. It whispers things like, you can do it tomorrow. Don't worry. Your natural ability will carry you through.
That sounds familiar. We looked at the example of Tom.
Right, Tom. Talented guy, charming, intelligent by all accounts.
Coasted on it.
Completely coasted. Figured his raw ability was enough, so he never really buckled down and developed discipline. He was brilliant, sure, but totally sporadic.
And the result?
The consequence was, frankly, devastating. By 35, he found himself unemployed, fundamentally unskilled despite his intellect, watching peers who were maybe less naturally gifted but way more disciplined advance right past him.
Ouch.
He had this realization. He said he felt like the grasshopper in the fable when winter came. His intelligence had actually become his biggest liability because it allowed him to avoid the hard work for so long.
So to counter that whisper of do it tomorrow, we need to apply these Socratic questions to our own excuses.
Yes, rigorously.
Yeah.
We have to ask ourselves, okay, what really happens if I wait too long to prepare? And don't be vague.
Be specific.
Very specific. What job do I want in 5 years? What skills does it require? What specific crisis could destroy my savings if I don't build that buffer now?
And challenge the myth of sporadic brilliance.
Exactly. Ask. Why is steady, maybe even boring effort actually better than sporadic brilliance? The answer lies in compounding.
Like interest, but for effort.
Precisely. The person who writes just 200 words every single day produces infinitely more over time than the person waiting for that perfect bolt of inspiration that might never come.
And maybe the hardest question, what am I really avoiding by choosing comfort right now?
That usually gets to the heart of it. It's typically the difficult conversation, the boring but necessary task, the hard work that's actually required for genuine transformation.
We saw that incredible example with Jennifer, the surgeon.
Oh yeah, powerful story. Her turning point came when her mentor challenged her reliance on just her natural talent. The question wasn't about her grades or test scores.
No, it's much heavier.
Much heavier, the mentor asked. What happens, Jennifer, when you're holding someone's life in your hands and your natural ability just isn't enough? When someone's child is dying on your table and you need skills you never bothered to develop because you were too lazy to practice.
Wow. I mean, how do you even respond to that?
You don't, really. That question apparently just completely rewired her priorities on the spot. Yeah. Because it injected a specific, visceral, terrifying consequence directly into her daily decision-making process about practice versus coasting.
And this isn't just individual, is it? This failure to be diligent, this choosing comfort.
No, it absolutely has collective costs. Yeah. When excellence isn't demanded, when we all sort of choose individual comfort over rigor, systems decay.
Or shared resources.
Our educational standards, our economies, our civic institutions, they all decline bit by bit because everyone kind of assumes someone else will do the hard, disciplined, supervised work.
That makes perfect sense. Laziness isn't just a personal failing in that view. It's almost like a failure of citizenship, a failure to contribute to the whole.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Let's talk about the poison of deceit and conflict, these sort of internal follies.
Right. Lying, deceit, gossip, stirring up trouble. These are actions that can destroy trust, community, and reputation faster than almost any external crisis. A single lie can just fracture years of built-up trust.
And the Socratic method here helps us dissect why we even do it. We looked at Maria's story.
Maria, yes.
Yeah.
She exaggerated her qualifications. Okay, let's be honest. She lied to land a dream job. She told herself it was just a little embellishment, just to get her foot in the door.
A common rationalization.
Very common. But that short-term win, getting the job, it immediately became this long-term trap. She described it as a 2-year prison of anxiety.
Constantly afraid of being found out.
Every single day, living in fear of exposure. And when the truth inevitably did emerge, she didn't just lose the job, she damaged her entire career prospects in that specific industry. Her insight was chilling. The lie got her in the door, yes, but it locked her in a prison where she couldn't even breathe freely.
That's a huge, huge cost for what seemed like a small lie at the time. So the key Socratic question here has to be, what does lying really accomplish?
Exactly, you have to weigh that trade-off, honestly. Short-term avoidance, maybe, versus long-term anxiety, stress, and the high probability of eventual ruin.
And we also need to ask, maybe even more fundamentally, is this action truly honest?
Yeah, not just technically true, but honest. Like, would you be perfectly comfortable if everyone involved knew the absolute full story, the context, your motivations?
If the answer is no,
Then you're probably lying to yourself, first and foremost. And that self-deception is where it starts.
this applies to creating conflict too, doesn't it? We had David's example.
David, the reformed workplace troublemaker,
Yeah.
he admitted very candidly that he used to create drama gossip, stir things up, because deep down, it made him feel important. It put his ego right at the center of the office narrative.
Wow, that's some self-awareness.
It took Socratic questioning, probably some hard feedback too, for him to see that he was essentially destroying his workplace environment just to feed his own need for significance. He was manufacturing a lie of his own importance through conflict.
That level of self-examination is so critical, especially when we face temptation.
Oh, absolutely. Because every temptation is like this carefully wrapped package, isn't it? Promising immediate pleasure, seemingly without consequence.
Yeah, temptation is the master salesman, the ultimate trader, always offering to trade your long-term well-being for what, a 5-minute dopamine hit?
Exactly. We need those sharp Socratic questions to just strip away that seductive disguise.
So what's the first question when facing temptation?
You have to start with the honest calculation. Okay, really, what will this choice cost me? And calculate the full price.
Not just money.
No, rarely just money. Think. Self-respect, trust, yours and others, future opportunities, relationships. You have to realize that every yes to a harmful temptation is simultaneously a no to something essential, something valuable you're giving up.
That's powerful. And what about how it affects others?
Crucial question. Am I treating others with respect in this? Temptation so often involves dehumanizing, people turning spouses, partners, friends, colleagues into mere objects for our gratification.
If you're violating someone else's dignity,
Then the choice is inherently destructive, not just to them, but ultimately to your own character.
Kevin's story was just brutal on this point.
Yeah, Kevin's story is maybe the most painful illustration. He started what he called an emotional affair. Seemed harmless at first, just messages, conversation,
Slippery slope.
the classic slippery slope. And he admitted he completely failed to ask himself the critical Socratic questions early on. Questions like, hang on, would I want my wife having these exact conversations with someone else? Or even just, where is this realistically heading?
By the time he recognized the danger,
It was too late. The trust was shattered. He said something haunting, that maybe 15 minutes of hard, honest questioning at the beginning could have saved him and his family 5 years of devastating pain, insecurity, and rebuilding.
15 minutes of thought versus 5 years of pain. Wow. Okay, that brings us naturally to our final segment, this idea of viewing correction not as punishment, but as light.
Exactly. The enduring principles we've been drawing on often describe instruction and correction using metaphors of a lamp or light, something that illuminates the path forward, not something that beats you down.
And the Socratic method fits perfectly here, doesn't it? It turns potentially painful criticism into, well, accelerated discovery.
Instantly. Think about traditional correction. It feels like a personal attack. You're wrong. That's bad.
Yeah, puts you immediately on the defensive.
Right. But Socratic correction reframes it completely. It transforms it into a dialogue. Okay, help me understand. Walk me through your thinking here. Or, interesting approach. What if we looked at it another way? What might we be missing?
That totally changes how we receive feedback. We talked about Anna, the designer.
Yeah, Anna. She used to be just devastated by criticism of her work. Felt personal.
Until her mentor shifted tactics.
Exactly. The mentor stopped saying, your design is bad, and started asking Socratic questions instead. Things like, okay, Anna, what response are you hoping to create in the user with this design? Does this visual actually achieve that specific goal? What might work even better to solve the user's problem?
So it reframed the feedback away from, you failed, to, let's solve this problem together.
Precisely. It immediately shifted the focus away from her ego and onto the shared intended goal.
Hmm.
It became collaborative problem solving, not personal rejection.
And we can use this ourselves when we have to give feedback, right?
Absolutely. It's a much more effective and, frankly, more respectful way to guide others. Instead of the blunt judgment, "That's wrong," try asking, "Help me understand your process," or "What other option did you consider before landing on this one?"
It preserves dignity.
It preserves dignity and it promotes genuine growth because people rarely resist discoveries they feel they've made themselves, even with guidance.
Okay, so let's try and synthesize this. We started with the core idea. Folly is essentially failing to question.
Right. And the traps, the forms of folly, they're remarkably consistent throughout history, even if the technology changes. It's still the casual promise that ends in bankruptcy, the procrastination that leads to failure, the temptation that spirals into addiction.
The patterns are ancient.
The patterns are ancient, and the defense, while simple in concept, requires immense conscious effort. It's created that pause, that space between the impulse and the action.
Between feeling and choosing.
Exactly. And every question we learn to ask ourselves consistently. What am I really committing to here? What happens if I wait? Is this truly honest? What will this ultimately cost me? How else could I look at this feedback? Each one is like a tool for survival in a complex world.
So here's the core takeaway for you listening right now. These questions, this Socratic approach, they aren't meant to be restrictions on your freedom.
Quite the opposite. They are arguably the only path to genuine, sustainable freedom. Think about it. The person enslaved by debt they didn't foresee, or consumed by the anxiety of maintaining a lie. They aren't truly free, are they?
No, they're trapped.
They're trapped. The person who thinks before acting, who questions before committing, who learns proactively from correction, that person is the one who is truly liberated.
Perhaps we should encourage you to view this kind of questioning as maybe a quiet act of rebellion.
I like that. A rebellion against a culture that often encourages clicking, signing, agreeing, choosing, all without deep consideration.
So the challenge is this: choose wisdom. Question thoroughly, especially the next time you face a tempting opportunity or feel that internal or external pressure to act without thinking.
Your willingness to pause and think critically, that's your greatest strength. Use it. Choose wisely. Question thoroughly.